My investments in Africa, I can say probably started around 2004. Shortly after my Locked Up album, I said to myself, okay, I don't want to be that artist who's just a one-hit wonder. So the little money I make right now, let me start buying some real estate. Honestly, I thought Africa was the best place for future investment, mainly because it was still underdeveloped. I kind of racked up, thousands and thousands of acres of land just by the water, seafront property. And I always felt like, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Senegal was one of the first choices to invest in because I was home, I had family there. The most popular one I would say is the Aecon Lighting Africa, which is my energy company. We're actually in about 16, 17 countries right now in all of West Africa. We put up about 250,000 solar street lamps all throughout Africa, but now we've expanded totally. The business started with solar street lamps. Now we're actually doing solar grids. I'm building a crypto city starting in Senegal. That one is called Aecon, Solartainment City, which is the first crypto city throughout the continent, basically. Right now, we got about 54 countries. Every single country in Africa has its own dollar or has its own currency. But the problem is none of the currencies are stable. They go up, they go down. So cryptocurrency for me, I felt would be the solution for Africa. The way I see the future is that I want Acorn to be the trading mechanism for Africa. In other words, Acorn will be the dollar that you spend when you come to Africa. And what we did, we built a platform that allows all the young generation, entrepreneurs, everyone that has anything of value to be able to utilize that value, tokenize it into Acorns to be able to trade it off. The music entertainment side of things, we started in Nigeria in 2008, starting with the likes of silent artists like Wizkid, P-Square, Davido, which is the Iconic label group. This is actually 4 different labels, 4 different genres, and it's a global imprint. Africa has always been the richest continent in the universe when it came to natural resources. So there's no reason why Africa should be in a position like this anyway. I remember telling everyone that, we have a lot of resources. As you know, all the prime resources.
Yeah, good people. Is it just me or is the sound that bad?
When I say resources, I mean natural resources. I'm talking about human capital, history, knowledge.
It is you. We can hear.
African Americans' minds when you mention Africa, it's like this huge ball of fear just comes up when you say the word Africa, because
this is your device.
Africa is a certain specific type of way. And I think the fear of not knowing is what halts them from not going. When you look at Africa from every angle, could clearly be that. We have the capability, we have the strength, we have the manpower, and collectively we actually have the funding. That is more than possible. And it's all from just basic hustle, because all Africans are born entrepreneurs. Like, if you go to Harlem right now, you're gonna probably see 80 fruit stands, and they're all African. You know what I'm saying? When you combine African Americans and diaspora Africans, that unity itself is what's gonna make Wakanda actually possible. I don't think Wakanda can be built by Africans alone. And I think that the diaspora have to be involved, because the diaspora comes with a different set of knowledge. I think the wealth is naturally spread when jobs are created. It's gonna be nothing but job opportunity. And that's from every industry, from education, health, infrastructure, energy, agriculture, you name it. This is our chance to start fresh. I just don't see why we won't take advantage of that.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on 75 W Radio and live on Umma Connected on YouTube and on Zoom and on Facebook Live. Welcome to this global community conversation, and tonight a very important topic. You cannot see my face, but you will very shortly. You shouldn't worry, inshallah. Thank you very much for those who have just joined us. We wanted to start with a teaser with Akon, who actually is an African icon of sorts. So far, so good. A man who has decided to go back home and invest back home, hugely invest back home, and it will probably start paying off very soon. The man decided to go back home. Well, he's still in America, but he decided to use his influence to start taking back or giving back home. It is amazing how many opportunities are back home. There are many diasporas, and it's not just Africa. If you look at diasporas that have been existing for a long time, people like the Filipinos or the people from the Philippines, people from Indonesia, people from Bangladesh, people from the Asian actually subcontinent who have really been for a long time working abroad, but also sending stuff back home. With the Indians, it's slightly different because where Indians have gone, you will find that quite often what happens is they always tend to live where they've gone and they become naturalized in those particular areas. With the Bengalis, people from Bangladesh, is slightly different. Their level of investment back home is quite big, and so is people from the Philippines. The Filipinos actually are one of the biggest diasporas just in terms of the kind of work that many of us from the African continent have also ended up engaging in. Things like, for example, in the care service or in the nursing sector or in the doctor's sector, you will find that the presence of Filipinos, for example, is quite big. I'm sure you have noticed it wherever you are. And what has happened is that the Filipinos have gone back home, a huge, strong influence that they have taken back home and managed to invest quite hugely back home. Probably there could be a leaf or a lesson that we can pick up. In Africa, one of the biggest diasporas actually is from Ethiopia and Eritrea, people who've started going abroad very early on. Ugandans did, but in smaller numbers, and it was actually people that came from sort of influential families as a result of the kind of insecurity that was existing in the country. But increasingly and slowly, you start finding a situation that allowed now many Ugandans, especially in the last 30, 35 years, many Ugandans now flocked to the rest of the world, and that has created its own big diaspora network. It became actually much clearer during last year's elections, where the impact of the diaspora actually became very apparent. So it means that probably going forward, the situation actually might be different. We might be seeing a different situation altogether as a result of what is happening around the world with bigger diasporas. The contribution of Uganda's diaspora, for example, in 2014, 2015, was bigger than the money that came from the sales of coffee. That tells you something. In Kenya, for example, you've had also another growing and bigger diaspora that is growing by the day. And it has been able to actually do a lot more. Kenyans are a lot more organized. If you look in terms of impact back home, the Kenyans have actually done a very, very big contribution or impact. Nigerians, Ghanaians, Cameroonians, Malians, Senegalese on the African continent, those also started traveling very early on, and therefore their diasporas are huge. But in terms of organization, in terms of contributing and doing stuff back home, you'll find that the Kenyans, I think, sort of stand out in this particular instance. It'll be very interesting to hear these kind of stories. A lot of the investments back home, of course, has been or have been in the real estate sector, where for an African, just like an Englishman's house is his castle. Every African always wants to start by building, a house very, very quickly. But you realize that in countries like Pakistan, where you have another huge diaspora, as we spoke about India and Pakistan sort of go hand in hand. And you'll find that you'll have a huge diaspora of Pakistanis. But once they've come to the Western world, where they've worked their way, into off licenses, into factories, into textiles, and actually made it big, many of them have gone back home, built huge mansions that nobody ever lives in. In Africa, probably we are the beginning to go down that route, where you build a very huge house, a very expensive house, mainly for the community to see that you actually made it, but you're hardly in the house. It is the houseboy or housekeeper who is looking after the house, enjoying the benefits of everything that you've put there. You are going there once a year. Probably now with COVID, you've spent the last 2 years without being able to go. So today and tonight, we shall just try to be looking at the diaspora in terms of the huge impact and influence that we can have, but also importantly, the challenges that we are facing in being able to invest back home. What are the sort of challenges that we are facing trying to invest back home? Are there things that governments, particular governments, have put in place to try to attract people from the diaspora to be able to go back home? What are these facilities that have been put in place to try to encourage you to be able to go back home and therefore invest back home? The diaspora money, for example, Rwanda in particular, started a particular program where they started what was called a $1 project. Every person was actually contributing $1 to the debate, to a particular fund, a pool, and within a very short period of time, they managed to raise $1 million in no time, just bring $1 from everybody in the diaspora. The number of people that managed to contribute, managed to raise $1 million, and that actually built up very quickly into millions and millions of dollars, simply because they were trying to show if we put together, we can actually do something. Many of us in the diaspora have gone and invested individually, lost a lot of money to relatives. I was speaking to a person, a very senior person very recently, who was telling me that they had lost, when they did the maths, they had lost 1.8 billion Uganda shillings. 1.8 billion Uganda shillings lost to relatives back home whenever they tried to send money to try to put up businesses that never took off. This is all, I think, part of the conversation that we shall be having tonight. Are there things that governments back home can do to create an enabling environment that would allow people in the diaspora to be able to invest? People in the Western world, for those of us who have been lucky to come to the Western world, the situation might be slightly different. You've seen the kind of hardships that our relatives, our brothers and sisters, our daughters go through in the Middle East, living in the houses, doing, the domestic work. The point then is, if there was support back home, that might actually mean that for all the pains and struggles that they go through, at least with the little that they are able to make, they can actually translate that into something once they get back home. What can we actually do? Welcome to Come Let's Talk with me, KASSIM KAYIRA, and we are live on 75W Radio, as well as live on Umma Connected on Zoom and on YouTube. Remember, this is a conversation where it's not me talking down at you. It is about us having a conversation. I would like to ask Isma, please, if we can play our second video to allow us now to get into the conversation so that we can open up and get to hear from the different countries. We shall be hearing people in the different countries in the diaspora, what they are going through and what they've been able to change. We shall be hearing from you, your particular stories, and probably the positives. It's not only negatives. Some have been able to actually make a difference back home. Isma, if that video is ready, please, if we can have it.
Hi investors, my name is Rachel. I am a property advisor with Optiven, and today I would like to invite you to see one of our properties. This is Victory Gardens Phase 1 and 2, one of our sold out projects. As you can see, we already have power in place. We have already done the gate, a beautiful gate. Water is in place. We've already run and set up. And water is plenty in this project. Today we are privileged to have one of our special clients, and I will give him a chance to introduce himself and tell us what he knows about Optiven.
Well, thank you, Rachel. My name is Humphrey, and I reside in Australia, precisely in Canberra. And today I'm happy to visit Optiven project and see what they have in place. I've been seeing this in videos and their website, but I'm on site actually to make sure whatever I see is true.
Humphrey, as I had said earlier, this project has got everything in place. As you can see, the roads are already done. The trees are in place. Customers have already started constructing. As you can see, this one will be ready to get into his house in a few months. All the infrastructures are in place, and customers can settle here any minute. You can buy your plot today, and tomorrow you start your house.
Actually, I can see a tap there. Is there water running there?
Yes.
Oh, let me see. I can drink. I'm actually thirsty.
Pressure. That tells you that the borehole can produce so much water.
It's still salty,
And
yes,
you can't tell whether it's a borehole water because we fill our borehole very deep to ensure that we get fresh water, and you can't feel the saltness in a borehole water from any borehole that often has sunk. Humphrey, this is one of our customers who bought when the place was very bare. We put all the value additions, and now he has come to a point of owning a home. What do you think about this house?
First of all, this is a very nice house, and I like the surrounding actually, the trees around, and in the vicinity actually, you can see the landscape. I love this place. I wish I would have got here.
Humphrey, welcome to Victory Gardens Phase 3. As you can see, everything is in place. Security is very tight, and everyone getting into this project will be searched. So you're not worried about who is entering into this project.
One thing that I really love with this kind of arrangement that you Optiven are doing is because I bought some plots somewhere, and processing took a long time. And actually, some plots I was all actually lied to. But with you guys, the process that you're doing is very simple, very easy, and especially when I'm in diaspora. And I think that's one thing I love about you guys.
One thing you will realize about Optiven, we are very professional, very trustworthy. Whatever we tell you is what you will find on the ground. I can remember the day that I called you and I told you whatever is on this project. And today that you've come, you are able to confirm everything that is here. We are keen on helping our customers in the diaspora to invest back at home, because there is no need of working so hard. Then when you come back home, there is nothing for you to show. So Optiven is keen in partnering with people in the diaspora to ensure that they invest such that when they come back home, they have something to show.
One thing that I love that we were in phase 3 and we saw phase 2, that was phase 2, where people have already constructed, and you have partnering with construction companies that are doing a very good job, like the trusted, reliable construction companies, because that's another challenge we get when you're in diaspora. Mm-hmm. You send your money, fundi wanakula pesa. So I'm so happy to see that also, which I believe I use one of them to construct my plots. Yeah.
The desire of every Kenyan is to see the final product. And for majority of people, when they are purchasing these properties, they want to build a home. So when you see such a kind of building, it inspires you to want to keep on investing, and especially to have somewhere where you can call home when you come back. Humphrey, we've been to phase 1, phase 2, and 3. And now we are at phase 4. This is where your plot is. Your plot is plot number 557. As you can see, phase 4 is also coming up. It will be like phase 1, 2, and 3. So everything that we've done in other phases will be in this property as well.
Thank you so much. I'm proud to be on my plot, number 557. I really appreciate, and I'm very, very happy. I'm a proud owner of this plot. Actually, they called me when I was abroad, and they introduced themselves to me, and they sent me to their website. They told me about themselves. I looked at the website. I'm from abroad. Actually, I put a deposit for this plot, and I decided to come and see. by myself. And when I came and I found how honestly the projects we are doing, and I'm so much happy to be associated with it. While living in Australia for the last 6 years, I've been thinking how I can invest, and it's very difficult to invest in Australia because things are costly there, labor is costly, and I thought of investing back home. And I realized, like investing in many other things, the people would manage badly. But I thought of investing in plots, and that's why I thought of buying a plot. But I've been buying plots through other ways, and I've suffered a loss. But today I'm happy to get people who are trusted, and that's why I bought this land. I would like to tell you people in diaspora, and especially in Australia, if you want to invest back home, the best way to invest is buying plots. They appreciate so quickly, and don't invest by using other people and who are not trusted. But if you invest with Optiven, if you buy land through Optiven, you are sure of your land. It's a reliable land. It's a true land. The processes will be done for you easily. You can be linked with constructors, and your work is easy. You sleep well. You sleep well. You not have sleepless nights thinking about your plot, thinking about.
I think we can stop that unpaid for but I think the point has already been made. Hello, Ismail, if you can just.
Optiven Limited, the pay-setters in real estate.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Good evening, everyone. If you've just joined us, welcome to this global community conversation. The program is Come Let's Talk with me, KASSIM KAYIRA. And tonight we are talking about the diaspora, mainly about the challenges of investing back home. Definitely you've seen, I think Kenya has sort of looked like it is one step ahead, and that's one reality that we have to acknowledge. They've been absolutely fantastic in terms of mobilization. Their circles or their groups seem to work. They've been able to put together quite a lot of things. I mean, building 200, 500 blocks. They've finished building their own houses. Some have even gone now to start investing in real estate in terms of projects that can actually be rented out, not only for their personal use. But of course, it's not just about real estate only. There are people who have gone back home, for example, going back home and investing in agriculture. Agriculture now is a big thing. For example, the comments, especially from the African Development Bank president, who said the next billionaires across the world, in Africa actually, will be farmers. Because now within the farming world, there is too much potential in terms of investment. But there are all these particular things that we go through as part of the difficulties, the kind of the red tape, the bureaucracy that goes into the process of being able to even kickstart the process. The kind of challenges, family relatives who have eaten our money and failed to deliver on the promises. You are supposed to buy 100 sacks of cement, only 40 or 50 are bought, the rest end up in someone's pocket. These are challenges, and tonight, I'd like us to have this conversation, but with a positive note in terms of the need for us to be able to go back and invest, but importantly, what we want our governments to be able to do. The diaspora now is a very strong force that cannot be ignored. Every government across the continent now is doing the best that they can, at least to try to attract investors, to attract the diaspora to invest back home. Probably it would be nice to hear your experiences from your own countries, where you have been, at least to hear what has happened. Mr. Charles Chaze, my fellow presenter, welcome to the conversation tonight. Hello, Charles. Can you unmute yourself, please? You seem to still, right.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
unmute, brother. How are you?
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. It was quite very inspiring because, you know, taking an example of many of my friends I've talked to, many have a negative attitude towards investment in their home countries, whether it is
and why is that? Why is that?
Because they have this attitude, they think, which I also did, think that, you know, we've sent money, actually millions of, like, for example, I'm from Uganda, millions of Ugandan shillings, and it has been stolen. If I could use the, you know, the real world, because sometimes we are diplomatic and say, oh, it has been, invested badly.
Yes.
And if you are burnt once, twice, you say, no, I will not be burnt the third time. And a lot of people have got this attitude. And this show, my love for it, can give us hope as people from the diaspora. People of my age who came abroad about 35, 40 years ago, now need to go back home and retire. But
are you going to, Charles? Are you about to go?
No, not yet.
Yes.
Not yet. But a lot of my friends are crying out loud that if I had invested in a house here in Britain and didn't buy a house in Uganda, I wouldn't be suffering the way I am. And many people who have not invested in building houses back home are saying, I did buy a house here in Britain, Canada, Sweden, or wherever places, America. Now I can sell it and then go back home and buy a house without asking someone to build for one. Yeah. So these incidents have happened so obviously, and sometimes they have been tragic. Somebody works so hard for 15 years, sends money, goes to Uganda, there is nothing. I know of 2 friends who killed themselves in this country because, some of them, turned to drinking. So there has been very negative attitudes.
Charles, what exactly happened to those friends? Probably it would be interesting for our listeners and viewers to probably get an insight into what exactly happened to those friends who committed suicide, who took their own lives.
What happened, they sent money to their relatives. Actually, these were relatives. Mm-hmm. Actually, one of them sent it to his mother. And they were sending him pictures of how the house was, being built. And when it reached a certain level, he said, I think now it is time to go and see my house.
My sweat.
And they even tried to kill him.
Wow.
So when he came back, he became, depressed. And it is depression that he went through that, made him to commit suicide. So he didn't get the support he needed, or which would have saved his life. And, the mother who did this to him gave an excuse that, he was okay back home, but the children, his brothers and sisters who stayed home, were bad off. They had no school fees for their children, so I had to use that money to pay for school fees and taking care of their children. So that was the reason she gave, that she didn't build that house, and she kept on lying to him.
And this was his biological mother, not a stepmother.
Yes, she was his biological mother. He was.
Wow.
So,
now, but Charles, is there a need though for us as the diaspora to be able to go back home and invest? Because probably you have started from the challenge, which is the negative aspect of it. But is there a need, considering, for example, the abilities that people have, in case if we fundraise for an occasion, you see how quickly money is raised from all the little bits that come from all the different people within the diaspora. Is there a need for the diaspora to be able to go back home and invest?
I think it is a great need. And that need has to start from where we live. We come together, maybe 10 of us. I saw that project, which showed the phases. If we can come together and create a company that buys land in Uganda and starts helping our colleagues who are in this country or elsewhere in the diaspora, and we start using a very professional company that maybe we are part of as investors, and start helping ourselves, helping our friends, helping our family members, because we have children now who are married and have children who can become partners in these companies. And I think that will be the best solution that can help people in the diaspora.
Charles, you've said you've been away for 35 years. You've been out of Uganda.
Yeah.
Have you been able to invest back home?
I've tried,
yes,
and I've been burnt. I bought a house 20 years ago through my brother. And when I decided to go and visit and sleep in this house, the person who was keeping this house was my nephew. I found my bedroom that he had married a wife and had 3 children. The 2 other bedrooms, one was taken over by another brother of his, my other nephew, and the 3rd bedroom was taken over by my niece, his sister. So when I reached there, I had no bedroom to sleep in.
In your own house?
In the sitting room for 3 days, and I had to leave and find some other place where to sleep comfortably.
And they were fully aware. They were fully aware that you would be traveling to Uganda. You would be coming to see your house.
Definitely not to see my house. There was a wedding I had come back to, and they knew I was going to stay in my house. But we have done something, or I have lied to them that I've sold the house, and somebody who bought it, or whom I asked to buy it, has told them to leave, and they gave them 9 months to leave. But now we have a very big problem. The family feud that has arisen outside of that is a big one. That they think they don't understand why I can throw them out, of a house of their uncle who is abroad, and we are all in this together. The Ubuntu, that we have to work together as a family to support each other. Now this guy is throwing us out.
Wow, Charles, just stay there. As you know, this global community conversation, we do not have any experts. We are all experts in the areas that we converse about, and therefore do not be shy. In case I come to you, please be ready to share your experiences. Charles, thank you very much, and I'm sure we'll have more of you in the conversation as it goes ahead. I've seen Stella Makumbi, and while Stella, I'm getting you to unmute yourself, you actually joined amongst the first people to join the conversation tonight, and thank you very much. You are a new face to the conversation. I'll just take a quick message. Let me just say that in the chat room, we always have our conversation going down there. Questions and answers sometimes actually get dealt with in the chat room. In case you have any question, any suggestion, any disagreement, please flag it there and we will read it out and deal with it. So lack of professionalism has been a big challenge, and remote management of projects. That's according to Chance K. And we'll come to that, actually, we'll delve into that. Amina Amba says, I wanted to understand if the other Kenya project showed also happens in Uganda. I can happily tell you that we started it on a small scale. I actually spearheaded the project where we have bought land in PG, which is only 25 miles from Kampala, and we have London Village coming up. Although it has people from the United States and people from the United Arab Emirates, it's called London Village simply because just to allow that. And nearly 120 families are already settling into that place. We are going to start construction there in an organized phase, as you mentioned. So yes, definitely we are trying to do something in Uganda of a similar nature. It is, of course, the first that we'll be doing, and therefore we have a lot to learn and lessons to pick from where they've managed to do it very well. But definitely we are on course to doing that. It's called London Village, and we have already settled. 120 families are settling into that area. It's in PG, just where the PG Expressway now, the new expressway where it touches after it reaches Mpiji near Mpambire. We have got a project there called London Village, and 120 people have already bought or signed up for their plots. There are a few remaining plots, and therefore, in case you're interested, please, we'll share the details of how we can do that, but definitely on course to doing that. Chacha, I think, says, Amina, yes, it does. I think you are responding to that. SW says, imagine that sense of entitlement. That is according to or regarding Chelsea's story. I'm trying to look for Stella, who had just given the mic. Stella, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, is it? It's Stella's iPhone? Hello there.
Hello.
I can't hear you well.
I'm having problems. Not Stella Makumbi.
Oh yes, yes, I can see Makumbi. Oh, is it Isa Makumbi? Are you logged in as Stella Makumbi? Stella.
That's how working.
Uh-huh.
We decided to work it like that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to spotlight you, but suddenly you disappeared.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
You're in a very, very dark spot. I hope we can make your face out. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to this conversation.
Yeah, it's a very nice question. I've had people coming up with so many excuses.
Yes.
Ugandans don't expect to get anything from the government. They talk and talk. So you have to go individually. But what we do, we should. If you are going to project, you can get a good company here who are very professional, and they'll guide you through, whereby won't be ripped off by your family members. But we want to do the cheap way. We don't want to pay for
Mr. Makumbi, just to put it in context for our viewers, you are in Uganda at the moment, and you decided to relocate.
Uganda.
You decided to relocate back to Uganda after how many years abroad?
About 7 years.
About 27 years.
37.
37 years abroad. Well, Charles, you are not alone. As you can see, 35 of viewers is now Dodge. Issa was away for 37 years and he decided to go back to Uganda. And Issa, you are saying your line is not very good, but you are saying that you need to find a professional company that can be able to deliver on projects.
Yeah, you have to do due diligence to find out more about and tell them what you want. If you have all that, you won't have any problem. But you don't want to pay for the professional service and you go the cheap, and whereby we end up being ripped off or losing it. But coming back to Kampala, you find that if you get involved in the work, the price goes down, and you can't believe it. If you're putting up a structure while you're in London, it could cost you around, say, £40,000. It costs around £15,000 if you get involved in the work. And there are good opportunities around. And I wouldn't regret any time for having left that place. I'm going to property development. I've been here for this my second year, but I see there a better future in this place than where.
Now, Issa, it takes a bit of courage. Many of us have sent our luggage through Salabed, promising to live in the next 6 months. And 2 years, 3 years, 5 years have elapsed. We haven't had the courage to leave. How did you manage? I mean, they always say the first 6 months, once you survive the first 6 months back home, then you will survive.
Yeah, if you are coming down here, have arrangement whereby it could be sustained for 6 or a year to have an income, whereby it depend on. You won't generate anything from this place for at least a year. So you have to have enough money to keep you afloat for a year. About that. And you should first get accommodation. If possible, go into rent. Will be enough for you to do a business and then expand. But for us, what it's about, if you are coming back, you go into renting the accommodation, which is very expensive. It's not expensive, but come down, be very expensive. And the second thing is have transport available, then you'll survive down here. There are many opportunities when you get embedded in the system, you come to learn to live with these people, and they won't cheat you, and you make money.
Issa, you are speaking about many opportunities. What sort of opportunities could there be for people who want to, well?
For example, I've seen tourism is a big part of it. When I talk about tourism, there are so many national parks around. If you come as a group, build simple buildings for the tourists. You get managers who run it up for you, and you get the right there. But for us, have a belief that if going, I have to build a house, which become redundant. You won't afford it, or to be very expensive to maintain. But if we go into such a business, you will make money. Tourism is one of the biggest industry in this place. There are few good hotels or cheap accommodation. If you go into that, you won't go wrong. I've tried farming. I burnt myself. I'm not going down that route. You can do a lot. When it comes to marketing, they'll rip you off. They'll rip you badly and lose everything. But if you do other things like professionals who have been here, say like those been doing plumbing, if you organize, you come here, you provide that service, the market is great, and you can become professionalism and do some work over here. House maintenance, not known to them. One works with someone who becomes an engineer. You get that man out next day to collapses. So if you organize yourself as a group, you can survive.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Issa Makumbi, for your inspiration. 2 years down the road, you've managed to go back to Uganda and you are still surviving. That is quite some kind of inspiration. You've said you didn't get much support from the government. There's not much support.
Not at all. The only thing from the government is tax. That's it. Other than that, if you come near around them, they'll rip you off.
Thank you.
So I think there's a bread. People have been talking about that. I've got a house, or I bought a house in London. When you retire, you'll be forced to sell it. When they put you in the home, and all savings disappear. But if you got something here, you relocate and the money to keep your house, and that to keep your money, the money that become more gray hairs, put a foot here or develop something here, run away when you retire, so that you can manage to keep your property, anything that you accumulated in the UK, rather than waiting till you are 70 and then send the old people's home, whereby you use the money to keep you. By the time you pack off, you've got nothing left behind for your children.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Issa Makumbi. Someone has just raised a question here. I don't know whether you have a comment about it. Someone is saying, it was Amina Amba again, who is saying, can the speakers also address the issue of poverty, which is on the rise in Uganda? How is that when you're telling people to go back home and the poverty levels are scary?
I think people, we have so many excuses. We have so many excuses. You can go to Brixton or some parts, see poverty everywhere. Poverty is everywhere. But that 5 full staff and around 10 temporary staffs. So they have got a contribute at least to the economy by providing employment to those people who wouldn't get a chance of getting decent wages. I try to afford decent wages for my employers.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you.
So I provide opportunity to employ people around.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Issa Makumbi, for that contribution. I just remind you that please, if you join the conversation, you can contribute or share the views in the chat room, or just raise up your hand and share your experience. The way we do in this conversation is we'll just come to you. You know, it's just random. We just come to you and share experiences because many of us are in the diaspora and we have had particular experiences. A lot of times, a lot of the flack goes on to the people back home, being untrustworthy, being unable to deliver on projects. But what about those people back home? What do they feel about us? Are we so mean that you send money, 100 million to a person to run a project and you don't even include any money for the person? yet their child might have been sent away from school. Imam Kasozi, are you available? Imam Kasozi, if you can unmute yourself, please, so that we can hear a view from the ground. Imam, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, Assalamu alaikum. Your line is...
Hello.
Yes. Oh, it's getting better now. The line was a bit difficult. Now, Assalamu alaikum, Imam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm sure it's very late in Kampala at the moment. Thank you very much for joining this conversation.
Thank you.
A lot of conversation always goes around the fact that many people back home are untrustworthy. We send our money to run projects. You've been in a position where you have been entrusted to run a couple of projects. You are not in that box, would you say?
You know, thank you very much. You know, let me first switch off my other program I was handling. You know, I'm sorry. Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much for attempting or trying to handle such a sensitive topics, which maybe in the final analysis they may bring some sense of maybe of making people think they can make it. Where I'm seated, I am actually seated in a hotel room right now. We are in a retreat, and we are trying to formulate a strategic plan for some institution here. And it interested me when we asked the members who had attended, the members of the organization, to say what was their strengths, what their weaknesses, and the threats, and whatever. In this case, you know, situations differ. In our place here, those of us that have permanently lived here, maybe we are satisfied with the little we have in one way or another. The challenge for the people in diaspora is they went out, they want to have very magnificent things around them. It has become hard for them, or it is hard to come by. And by the time they want to come home, they should come at a stage of self-actualization. Okay? My brother Makumbi here has explained his, but you remember when one day he presented when he was where he is and what he showed us. Yes. Okay? Somehow he prepared for it. I know a friend of mine who, I think about 20 years ago, he told me he was planning to come back. 20 years down the road, he has not come back to settle here. And I am now convinced he can't settle here.
Why is that?
Yes, because by then he said, no, I come 3 months, 6 months, like that. But this later he just appeared for almost 5, 6 years without coming back here. These days he comes as a visitor for a few days. Mm-hmm. Okay, even the last time he was here, we could not even meet practically. We talked on phone, to call again, he had left. So where is the problem? The problem is when you are investing in a place and you are at a far distance and you don't really, I think Makombi put it rightly, if you don't get a professional who is reliable and he fixes the worker for you, then you will be messed up. By who? Our close friends and relatives. Because they reach a stage of where they say that, when he comes to Uganda, so that leads us to a way of failing to do the work. most of the, then some, I have also seen another, for example, our team, our group, the new challenge we are facing today is because we handle community programs, community projects, and others are doing the same. But now our biggest problem, our crime, is that these ones are spoiling for us our opportunities because they are they are perfectionists. Okay, that is, it is now a bigger challenge, and some people, they echo it. Then you are meeting other people, they don't. By the name coach, how do you do it? Simple thing is just sincerity and transparency that we really need. And in the process, they lose opportunities that would have come their way. The last thing probably I want to say, I have said it elsewhere on other forum, but involving some people who are here, that most people in the diaspora were not decided. One leg is in Uganda, another leg is in Europe or America, where you are. You are not sure, because you have been to Europe and America, you know how people who become old, how they are treated. Now you fear that scenario, but again, you are fearing the situation here at home, and consequently, you fail to decide where you are going to be permanently, and you are caught unawares. So I am proposing and suggesting that let us take decisions and accept that we have either migrated or we went as target workers and we have succeeded in the work, we come back. Or we went as target workers, it has failed, change your mind immediately and say, now I am permanently here. Otherwise, if you are divided between the two, even the resources, I think Charles put it well, that he probably take time, buy a house there. If you feel you want to come, sell it. The amount of money you will get out of that house will be enough to buy you another house here. And you also, when you reach here, you go into a comfort zone straight. But otherwise, if you come here to struggle, reconstruct, build, you will find it very hard. Therefore, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, when I decided, let me give you a personal example. When I decided that I had migrated from the village where I was born, and I have come to where I am, I decided I put up a house here. My relatives were challenging me that I don't have a house in the village. And I told them, I cannot put my resources where I'm not going to stay. I told them, when I come here, and if you cannot accommodate me, I will find a hotel or some living room somewhere, and I stay there and then go back. After all, if you are talking about a house, I have built a house in Kampala where I am. I am not renting, because you know traditionally abakwagaza nyumba yo yotazimbanga ne bwoba osula mwefaanana etya bajja kuba nti oyo takola ki oyo tazimbanga. So it is important to appreciate these two, the cultures we are in, focus on them, and then take a decision, or a final decision, irrespective of what others will say. So my simple definition is always define your own journey, accept people's advice all along that journey. If they apply where you are, fit them in. If they are not, shelve them. When they become relevant, pick them and use them. If they are not relevant, negate them. Okay, so fantastic. Decision making actually is still the biggest challenge for most of you in the diaspora.
Thank
you.
You
better
very
take
much.
a decision now.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Barakallahu fikum. Habiba, I'll go to the ladies now. I hadn't had any ladies' voice. Spot on, Imam Kasozi. Namatov says in the chat room, interesting conversation. Someone has just mentioned here that some people swindle people's money back home once they know that you don't have papers, and therefore you can't travel to go back. They'll eat the money, very comfortable, knowing there's no way you are coming back to cause trouble.
Very true.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's go to Sister. Oh, called who? Sister who? That's lost her now. Oh dear. I'll just check. Bear with me once. Oh, it was Habiba. Habiba, please. Habiba, please unmute yourself. Habiba. Habiba. Are you able to unmute yourself, please? Habiba. Oh, I'll go to Mama. Mama, assalamu alaikum. How are you? Mama, can you unmute yourself, please? It's gone quiet. Nzijewa Sania. Sania's iPhone. Sania's iPhone. Oh, Habiba said not able to talk. Sorry, maybe at work. Okay. As long as you can listen in, remember, at least you can share your views in the chat room. Sania, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, welcome to this beautiful conversation tonight about investing back home, the challenges of investing back home. Some people have been complaining about how they were burnt. They tried to invest and their money was eaten. Was your money eaten as well, or yours has been a smooth experience?
Mine, alhamdulillah, has been a better experience than what I've had from the previous participants. Mine is better, alhamdulillah. But yeah, all that they've said really happens back home. People tend to eat the other people's money, knowing that they're not gonna come anytime soon back home. So, which is really unfortunate. But we've got to pray really hard about that. I don't know why someone's mother would do such a thing to them, you know.
How did you manage? Is your family very trustworthy, or how did you manage to do that? Because I in particular made a decision that if I'm sending 500 pounds, I can comfortably escort it. Anything above 500 pounds, I'm happy to escort it. And that's by buying a ticket. So if I can send 500, I'll find another 500 to buy a ticket and I escort the 500. That way I've managed to save a lot and protect against theft. How did you do yours? How did you manage to survive that?
Alhamdulillah, I had a trustworthy brother who is really tried to be really faithful to me and being straight and everything. So I haven't had any other problem at all in that.
People are talking about investing back home. Is that something you have in mind?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. And I'm a member of the London Village, yes, you know. Alhamdulillah.
I was just about to say that you are a happy member of the London
me
Village.
and my husband
are
a member of London Village. So
the idea of going back is relevant. Yes.
Yeah. It's really relevant that we invest back home, but if we get good avenues, really trustworthy avenues, yeah, it's really good to do that.
Do you think there is enough in terms of the government availing information in terms of what happens? Actually, I'll tell you to the viewers listening into the conversation, I was really amazed and surprised, because one thing is, as a journalist, whenever I travel, I always keep that sixth sense sort of working. And so I went to Uganda, and it's after I'd seen what had happened in Rwanda. In Rwanda, people in the diaspora, mainly here in the UK, mobilized themselves. You know, all land belongs to the government in Rwanda, which is different from Uganda, where you have different land tenure systems. These people left, they went and approached the government, and they said to the government, we are a group of, I think it was about 25 or 30 people. They said to the government, we are here, we can mobilize our money, and would like to be given land. The government listened immediately. I mean, there is a diaspora desk in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which deals directly with the issues to do with the diaspora. So they have a contact person that they can actually deal with directly. That was settled. They were given land. A very beautiful estate has come up as a result of that. Government sort of intervening to be able to avail this. So I was surprised when I went to Uganda. I was just thinking, how is it possible that, Uganda, with all its exposure, many Ugandans have trouble, that they don't have that, they do not have this sort of thing. I was surprised to find that in the office of the president, there is a person, and a special advisor to the president on diaspora affairs. That was one thing that first shocked me. And I got to have a conversation with the person. We built up some kind of rapport, which was very interesting. Two, in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, there is a desk specifically meant to be assisting and helping the diaspora. it's almost dead. I mean, it's like a yes, it's a briefcase organization. But you find that if you go as a group, for example, as London Village, and we say, we are 120 people, we need water here, we need electricity. That is one service that the government can deliver within a month, because an order can be given. It is people who have come together as a group, organized with the means, and all they need is facilitation. So some of these things actually, with all that is required, is for people to put together, be organized, and then the government has a way of dealing, instead of having to deal with each person individually. When you go as a group, it is very easy to sort of be able to do that. And it's amazing, you know, what is out there that we do not know. But until you are out there, until someone tells you about it, it's very difficult to know about this. So Sania, I was asking you, just in terms of, have you had any access to information that might be helpful? And Hafsa, I've seen your hand up. I'll be coming to this. So Sania, you have not had anything from the government, not on the government website at all, regarding what is available for a diaspora?
No, except for the Uganda Land Board.
Yes.
That one I've had some
serious problems now with the president directly accusing it, they're saying it's illegal.
Really?
Oh yes, there is a big fight now between the president himself with the Uganda Land Board, which he says it's an illegal entity.
Allah Akbar. May Allah help us.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Sheikh.
And you remember, you can share your views
and everybody
in the chat room. The program is Come Let's Talk with me, KASSIM KAYIRA, and we are live on 75W Radio, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Umma Connected. We are streaming live actually on YouTube at the moment, as well as live here on Zoom, where the conversation is taking place. Hafsa, you have the microphone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
When a debate is interesting, time flies and you don't even feel it. We have already lost.
I know.
An hour is gone.
It's gone, alhamdulillah. You know, Sheikh Keke, I was thinking, you're one of the few lucky people that can go home and spend 3 months and sell your rabbits and make people eat the rabbit meat and go to the farm.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing as sad as spending us so much. No, and you leave people there and relatives there, and they destroy your property.
Yes, you have to do repairs every time you go.
Yeah, you know, it's really sad. Now, I wanted to find out, maybe Imam Kasuzo, maybe you have information. I'm seeing something trending about people. We have to get a Nangamuntu. You have to get a Ugandan passport, for instance, if you acquire citizenship here, in order to buy property, in order to get anything. So my question is, with even the wrangles with the, with the Uganda Land Board and Museveni and the political climate, what do we do? How do we really acquire property back home now? Is the situation too fragile, that it's too risky? What do we do?
Right, I'll answer from my perspective, and I'm sure we'll get a view from many people here, people listening in. But one thing I'll tell you is that there's never a time that you'll never hear political insecurity in Africa, in any country in Africa, not even in South Africa, which you think is the most stable country on the continent, just in terms of the democratic credentials of the country. But the thing is, when it comes to investment back home, our investment should be informed. Well, investment fears very much any level of insecurity. So when there is insecurity, be it political instability, be it violence, be it the theft or burglary, those things can actually scare away investment. And those are things that whenever you want to create investor confidence, that's one of the first things that you must actually put in place. Over the last 35 years, despite the problems that are there and so on, people's right and access and ownership of property has been protected to a large extent. It's hard to hear someone who has lost property just through, the shoddy deals will be with the lawyers, it will be about the wrong purchase, it will be someone playing you. But if you went through the process of the courts, of course, you buy your way into the courts, people get back their properties. For investment, personally, and that is my personal view, looking at the kind of investment, because the investments do vary. Looking at the kind of investment that I'm dealing with, or that I'm doing, I'm very comfortable, and I don't feel that it would be insecure to invest in Uganda. I think one thing that Ugandans really need to get into their minds, and I'm sure we have more people than just Ugandans on the forum tonight, but specifically addressing Ugandans, I think we need to build love for our country. We need to feel the confidence to be able to say, let us do it, because if you build it, they will come. That's what the English say. So people like Issa Makumbi, I'm sure, they've carried out, an assessment of the situation and decided to go back home. As long as you live a particular lifestyle, chances are you'll be able to have your safety, continuously well. Of course, if you're in the line of politics, that's a different kettle of fish. And with that, I wouldn't speak because I'm not political. And therefore, as a journalist, well, I've been free to do what I do. And you mentioned me going, because I know I've got a social media presence, I've got many followers. All I'll do is I'll say this weekend, I just want to reduce the number of my rabbits on the farm. We just organize the rabbit festival. We roast, I flag it well in advance, in a week in advance. Orders start coming in. By the Saturday when I actually serve the rabbits, I'm making sure that I can actually sell a significant chunk. And these are all things that, for me, I felt that is safety. And whenever you take the right channels, chances are you will be protected. Of course, if you try shortcuts, then the story will be different. So, but that is my personal view. And somebody else, depending on where they stand, they might have another view. In Uganda, the one thing that is a bit confusing is the many land tenure systems that are there. There's customary land system. If you go to the north of Uganda, for example, in Acholi land or Langi or within Karamoja, you want to invest in that area, the land is communally owned. So you get to a chief, they will sign you, but then the rest of the people, in case someone comes up in the community and says, I don't want this person, that could throw you into serious problems. So before you go into any particular areas, you need to be able to know the kind of land tenure system that is there. Uganda was the most developed, but even with the 2-3 different systems, that's also a bit difficult now. Because you've got my land, which was left by the colonialists, then you have the freehold, which can come out of that, or you can actually have the Chivanja person, a person who comes and takes possession or stays on someone's land. After some time, if you've been on someone's land for 12 years or more, then you have almost the right to stay there. But normally, ordinarily, the Chivanja person would stay on the land, paying usuru to the owner of the my land. All these land tenure systems now make it a bit complicated, and therefore, before you go, seek advice. And this is what Imam Kassoz, I think, had sort of said, as well as Ibara Issa Makumbi, when they mentioned that when you're going, deal with professionals. If it's a legal aspect, make sure. There are times when we want to do shortcuts. You go through a lay person, something is done in a lay way, chances are you can easily lose out. So with that, actually, Faisal Nsubuga here says, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Tawakkul now, Faisal is saying the best way is actually to put your trust in God and go and invest back home. Hand up with Abu Halima. I don't know if your question has been answered, Hafsa, or we can get other people coming in. I can see hands up, so chances are probably we'll get more contributions towards that. There was a hand up before Chacha, and it's disappeared. Okay, we'll go to Chacha. Was it that hand? Let me see. What have I done? I can hardly see the entire screen now. Okay. 1 second. I'll try to see if I can see everybody. Oh my God. Okay, Abu Halima. Yes, I think it was Abu Halima first, and then we'll come to Chacha. Abu Halima.
Hello, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah for that topic, but my concern is like also at the same time a question. I don't know if any of you have had that in mind. There is a notion of somebody saying, okay, I've decided I'm going to stay in the US or in America, rather, or in Europe, wherever you are. But then at the same time, you're like, I have this feeling I don't want to involve into the riba. Because most of the times here, if you want to make business, you might end up getting involved into the bank system and all that. And we all know that here, high chances that you have to get a loan sometimes from the bank to make it. So there are some of us here who are like, okay, I can do business here because I've decided I'm going to live most of my life here. And I can do business here, but I don't want to go through the reverse system and all that. Then how am I able to accumulate capital to start whatever business I want to start? And some say, like some friends of mine tell me, like, you know what I did? I decided to invest back home. And then after I sold whatever I had back home after reinvesting there, brought the money back here and started doing my business at small scale until when Allah put barak in it, it grew and grew and grew, and alhamdulillah, they are progressing. So have you experienced such a situation, and what do you have to say about it? The other issue is to do with what you just echoed about, the political stability back home. To be honest with you, maybe you are lucky, but majority of us, we feel the country is not safe, especially right now. When you see whatever is happening, you're like, should I grab all this money that I've made here? I've taken a long time to save it, and then, invest back home with everything that is going on. I don't know what are the chances of me going back home and finding whatever I did when it's still there. So you end up like, having all those doubts, because still, I know you said that most of the countries in Africa, politically, they are not stable. On the other hand, I agree with you, but still, to me, I feel like it's not safe yet. It's not safe yet.
Well, but when does it become safe, Abu Halima? You see that's the dilemma. And the thing is, once you put tawakkul, because any investment must involve a risk of sorts. For you to ever achieve anything, you must take a risk, you must take a gamble, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put your tawakkul. I think Faisal did put it very well. It's more a religious statement, but which has a lot of meaning, because a lot of things that we do, even with the best made plans, something will go wrong, even in the best made plans. So what we do is, one, we put our trust in God, but also look at, and that's why I was saying, try and assess, look at the different investment opportunities. Look at what is there. For example, Engineer Makumbi was talking about investing in tourism. Tourism is one area where you might be able to go and invest. But one of the most cowardly investment industries is tourism. In case of just one bomb blast, it could just scare away and lead to cancellation of bookings en masse in ways that you cannot believe. While it is a very, very sweet sector when it is working, when something happens, the impact is very, very huge. So the thing is, when you are thinking about making your investment decision, would tourism be top of your priority list? Is there something that you can invest in that could actually be long lasting? Let me give you an example. You buy land, for example, you are not going to build on the land. In fact, for anybody who has bought land in Uganda at the moment, my advice would be, make sure you have taken possession of that land. And possession does not mean a land type. No,
I know.
physical possession of the land. So if you feel like you're not yet ready to build because you have your dream house that you want to build on the house, and you are unable to build the house at this particular moment in time, find money and plant trees, because those trees are your trees. The money that will come out of those trees would contribute even to the construction of the house once you are ready. But at least you have possession that would say, that is someone's. It makes a huge difference than seeing a plot of land that is in the bush. Land grabbing now has become such that someone can actually come overnight, sit on your land, and before you know it, you spend 5 years of going through a court process to try to get them off land that you bought. Very, very, like you bought it in the very right way. Everything about it is right, but someone has taken occupancy or squatted on the land, and they give you. So one of the things is that look at the investments. There are particular investments that are safe investments. You are still considering whether to go. You are still counting your 5 years or 4 years. You've bought the land. That is step one. Two, just throw on trees onto that. Put avocados, for example, Hass avocados, because those ones, at least for the first few periods, few months, you're going to need a lot of care to get them up. Once they get up, the only time you can actually be going is when you know it is harvest season. Go and stick down there. You'll have someone looking after them, of course, but at least you know that's an investment that is not going to require you are being there all the time, and yet you can make good money out of it. So I think we should be thinking about the investments that we do at home very carefully as a way of protecting the sweat and energy that we have put in purchasing those things. So let me go to church. I don't know if Abu Halima, whether that is convincing. In terms of the security situation, and the security situation now is dependent because it varies, and that's why with countries you will see there's what is called an OTR. It is called an off-the-record briefing. Normally, it's done through embassies. Many of us journalists, well, senior journalists, will have access to embassies where you are invited to go and get a feel of the embassy's assessment of the security situation over the next 4, 5, 6 months. There are particular embassies that matter because you'll hear, for example, if there was an attack that happened and you hear a particular embassy had warned probably 3 months in advance that they were seeing some movement, something leading to something. These are all to keep your ear to the ground. And for us, with forums like these, this is where now we share information and we say, you know, this particular situation, you know, B, A, B, C, D. But other than that, with these situations, even in Afghanistan, I was shocked to see huge investments in Afghanistan, despite all the bomb blasts that keep going off every day. So that really, you know, like with investment, sometimes actually some investments thrive on that. Go to Somalia now in Mogadishu or Hargeisa, for example. Go to Hargeisa, where I have been, alhamdulillah. You get to Hargeisa and you see the level of activity, the amount of business that is taking place, unbelievable. Millions and millions are exchanging hands. And yet, you would imagine that situation, when you hear the peacekeeping troops in the south in Mogadishu and so on, you don't worry about that. So with investments, there has to be a but you just assess how much risk you are able to take. Barakallahu fikum. Chacha, Chacha, you have the mic. Chacha, unmute yourself, please.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi. You've been burning in the chat room now. Finally, we have you. Oh. How are you? And thank you for joining the conversation.
I'm good, thank you. This is an interesting topic and very educative. I want to answer Sister Hafsa or Hasfa. I would still invest back home. Number one, with or without paper, due to the different challenges that are going on in this country. Yes, we are in very secure countries. Now, yeah, not everybody is lucky today, like to have the paper that they have. Some are putting too much money. No, some mutunga atade sente mumpapula like over $40,000 or $50,000 and still have nothing because they're trying to chase the paper. Whereas if I had invested that $50,000 back home, I would have gotten something in that, and I still have nothing, yet I have to leave the country, right? So to me, with or without paper, if I have the opportunity, I have the money, I would still try to secure something, because even in this country, a Sydney paper, I still cannot maybe acquire or buy something. So why keep the money on my account? No, I'm never going to have an asset account. Bank account is never going to so
Chacha, they can celebrate Katondo Nyonku Omereze Mbozi. One of the best people abantu abakyasinze okukola ebintu e Kampala wano be bantu abatalina mpapula mu myezi mukaaga oba omwaka ogusooka nga tebalina mpapula nga balina empapula ze batambuliramu. Why?
Yes.
Because enusu ye buli emu ebeera eri kabina ng'agamba bwe bankwatira wenfubutukira. As a result, they end up doing a lot more than they would have done when they actually, in fact, papers, attend a very relaxing and in which case, now, the lack of papers becomes an impetus. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. I just thought I should flag that in.
Yes. So, and I've seen people, Kati, maybe today people say, Baba, could time to go back to their house and, you know, pack up your things, but others are found on the road and taken the way they are, or that's it, you know. So I'd rather do that. Then a chilala have such a good about a dual citizenship. To me, this is something that is straightforward. Go ahead, apply for it. Ofunye citizenship and see, yes, you've become American. You are American. Are you ready to give up America after they've given it to you? Hell no. So the Uganda, your code of conduct, nunji, genda wali, do the thing. It takes like maybe maximum 4 months, and you have your dual citizenship. It doesn't hurt. Racho obero yagala kubera mu bypass at the airport because it doesn't make sense. It makes you pay more than you being straight. Actually, it's not a bribe. It's the law. Just follow the law. That's what I'm thinking. And another thing, even with that, people, if they know that Toina popular, they would kukumba because they think you're not going to come back. And my reason for this, why do you have to tell your personal life to the whole village and the Gundi Sirina popular and to America Toina popular? Siri Kuda because in Kola.
Abantu amawulire bagatambuza ago sigwo byeyogera n'okuyogera gabaga kusoseyo.
Because people's mouths ziri loose or ina chagoba mu pipeline bakugamba do not to start tell your babita batia plans income finances to people. These are things that inspirational quotes keep sending to us katiracho obera obianika to everybody. You know, and then attend a church that British. You do not have the right to own property in Uganda. She can also use that very aspect of claiming an atwale takario. They told again Uganda, right? So you're better off going getting your dual citizenship. And atabe into vichuka. Before Ndagamuntu, we used to look at it like njajifuna, and it became hard. And today people are even willing to pay just million of Ndagamuntu. And it was so easy. Then another thing, Hafsa said, Hafsa, Sister Hafsa, so you are that I'm referring to you, but I'm trying to answer questions. Auntie questions on that as a remote topic. Ogambie, Mr. KAYIRA is among the lucky people that can go and even spend time in their staff back home. And he is happy and life is going. But one thing we have to know, we have to learn how to multiply our time. I believe Mr. KAYIRA does not manage time. He manages himself. And definitely, we can never manage time, but we have to manage our own selves. Today, where you can decide to be what you want to be. You can decide to be what you want to be, and you can do it if you only learn how to multiply your time. How do you multiply this time? Try to give yourself permission to do the things today that will create more time for you to do things that are going to be significant for you as you have and make you happy. To me, that's what I believe in. We need to learn how to multiply time. And how are you going to multiply time? There are various ways that you can do to multiply your own time. You're not supposed to say yes to everything. Because once you're going to say yes, you're saying no to various things. Is important. Oliba muwadde ekirimu n'agamba yes. Kyokka nga waliwo ekintu ekyakiyandibadde akola in that time. Obadde n'agenda vacation to enjoy
Thank you very much. I'm only stopping you so that I can bring in more people because the conversation seems to be heating up. It always happens that actually
Mr.
time is getting closer.
Just one point, Emuyoka.
Go ahead.
Another thing, we should have mentors or advisors. Tetujja kuva eno mu diaspora tugwe bugwe mu Kampala and boom, bagenda kubba. 5 people are there who can advise you on your finance, where to invest, and other things. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi barakallahu fikum. You've brought the fire out and I love that. Thank you very much. Just to remind you, this is Come Let's Talk with me, KASSIM KAYIRA, and we are live on 75W Radio, live on Umma Connect on YouTube and on Zoom. And remember, you can actually contribute. There have been quite a number of conversations in the chat room. I'd like to just flag a few. I'll come to you, Faisal, just next, and then Tasha. KS is saying, has anyone thought of exploring other parts of Africa which appear to be more welcoming to foreigners wishing to contribute to national development through investments. Given a current exodus of many Black Americans and other Africans hitherto living in the West, establishing a new home in several African countries, it shouldn't be a taboo for Ugandans abroad to look elsewhere to diversify investment, more especially where guarantees are given and the investment climate provides a level playing field for legitimate residents. As long as respects the law of their new homelands, it does not make sense to invest in West African countries like Ghana with economies of stability, security, and democracy. And Aspa, I think, was saying, I'm Ugandan and very proud, but Rwandese people are acquiring property without that any Ugandan citizenship. So why shouldn't I? Hajat Sarah Semakura says they know so much today about people in the diaspora. People, there are people who have no papers, so they cannot travel. How about those people are Ugandans but have Rwandese nationality, as it was the story to get the papers. And here, Hasfa, again, it was from Sadi, who says, our own people will swindle your money regardless whether you have papers or no papers. They believe we get money from trees, yet we all struggle to make ends meet. If anyone had any doubts that we get money from trees, why do banks have branches? Faisal Suruga, you have the microphone.
Naam, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You know, I was listening and I was thinking, you know, I'm not going to talk today, but
something tickled you. Well, that's the beauty of this conversation.
Yeah.
It's hard not to have a say.
And I think the problem is really, from my perspective, maybe it might sound a bit naive, but I came when I was young, so I came with my parents. I don't know the struggle of coming to the UK or getting papers or things like that. But what I would assume is, you know, the struggle that you went through to come to the UK, you've got some sort of capital now, you've got some sort of stability. You know, if you want to go back home, I would assume you need to be ready to go through the same struggle. You know, like anything, any business has to go through a process. The problem is we have this microwave system, which we are used to. You know, we want things fast, fast, fast. Sheikh KASSIM KAYIRA has a farm. How can I get a farm in a year? It took him 10 years to build that farm. You want to have it in a year. And secondly, business is not for everyone. Maybe you just want to have a comfortable job, maybe not in the UK, but you want a job back home. Try and find it. Who says you can't? Maybe Sheikh KASSIM KAYIRA can employ you to work on his farm, to be his farm manager. Yes, you might not get the same salary, but you'll have the comfortability of being home, if that's what you want. And you have that security of not worrying about, you know, paying this one has taken my money, this one has done this, you know, worrying about business. So I feel like we need to understand ourselves, understand what we want to achieve. Maybe your business is not meant for you. There's always something that you as a person can do that, you know, you can transfer a skill here back home. There's so many companies employing people. So I think it's a matter of just understanding ourselves. Yes, you can get into business, but if it's not for you, then don't feel stuck in the diaspora just because you can't run a business or you don't have the capital to run a business. There's so many other things that can be done. Secondly, you know, the issue of security, nowhere is, you know, everywhere there's problems. You know, even in London, in America, we see all over the news. You know, it's just that there's something about the diaspora in terms of the systems that if something happens, there's a system you can fall back to kind of get it sorted. But all these things can change and they can be built with time if only we put our trust in ourselves and, you know, try and do things. I'll stop there, inshallah. Barakallahu.
Barakallahu. Fantastic, fantastic. And actually, I think I'll just use this to insist that we need to invest back home. Whatever it is, I think if it is a mess, we need to clean up the mess ourselves. It's we to do the cleanup. People made deliberate decisions and made investments back home and back in their home countries. And this has made a huge, huge impact. When I was starting this conversation, I spoke about the Philippines and how long the Filipinos, for example, have been, you know, like abroad, doing, like, for example, care work and so on. You see the amount of impact they've been able to do back home. They are able to actually pull together a lot of money in a very short period of time. I think that the way forward for many, especially in areas like Uganda, because I think in Uganda we have a very serious problem. And until we acknowledge this problem and be ready to move on, we shall continue complaining, and just complaining throughout and throughout. Kenyans, for example, I'm sorry for again bringing them, because you find that despite their differences, despite their fights, you saw what happened in Kenya in 2007. We've never come, to anything like that in Uganda, despite our own differences. And may God forbid that we don't find ourselves in a situation like that. But they are able to mobilize themselves, mobilize funds, and come and do projects en masse. We have done a lot of things back home individually, as individuals. It is time that we start thinking together. If we get 100 people and we say we are embarking on this, 100 people, even if you brought £100 per person for 100 people, the difference that makes immediately is the impact is immediate. You can actually make this difference. And until and unless we start thinking in terms of that, we will continue to do our small projects that suffer from inadequate funds, and the result is we pack up our bags and come back to where we think we had left. I think that is one area that we really, there's no shortcut around that. We need to start building trust. We need to put in place mechanisms that would allow us to be able to work together and therefore contribute to the bigger good. Ajabi Kawesa here is saying being in touch and not staying away too long helps with the transition when the time comes. Otherwise, it would be hard to come from perfect systems to where the systems, there is no rule. When you are able to travel and you plan to retire home, invest in going home occasionally. That is one thing, alhamdulillah, I'm trying. I'm trying, like 3 times, 4 times a year. It's not the cheapest of things to do, but definitely you take it on, you swallow it, and with time it becomes actually very palatable and manageable. And Allah opens up ways. My biggest concern is taxation. The impression I got from URA is we still need to pay tax. We still need to pay tax, and that is from that was, oh dear, I only saw it very briefly, and it's disappeared. Anybody in the diaspora, you have 2 choices. If you're still alive, do you want to retire in a nursing home, or you invest back home and retire in your house? That is Chitunzi AM. Fantastic comment there. With some help from family, the ball is in our hands. Ajat Sarah, you apply, go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs website. I think that was regarding the dual citizenship aspect. There was a very interesting comment that just disappeared. I was just seeing it. I was in the middle of reading it and then it disappeared. My apologies. But let's just continue, widen the conversation out. I'd like to hear. I can see African Coffee Bureau. I would like to hear. Probably you've invested in the coffee, so hence the brand. Africa Coffee Bureau. Africa Coffee Bureau. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I see the Coffee Bureau. Have you already invested there?
Immediately, my apologies. I hadn't even set myself to remark now, but given the circumstance, let me park somewhere and make two statements.
Oh, sincere apologies. Well, you are in coffee. Probably it might be something that would attract our attention. And while you are parking, I'll just read this text quickly. It had come in and I was beginning to read it. Oh, it was my biggest concern is taxation. The impression I got from URA is we still need to pay tax not on the income from the business in Uganda, but also on our earnings in the diaspora, where I get the correct advice on how to address this. My biggest concern is taxation. The impression I got from URA was you still have to pay taxes. No, we already pay taxes where we are at. We wouldn't need to pay taxes there. But there are still ways around that, and ways that rich people have used. Rich people do use, even here, mainly, especially in the Western world. Actually, you find that back home, we are not even very good at using those means. But what happens is in the Western world, people can evade tax without avoid tax without evading tax, because tax evasion is a crime, tax avoidance is not. So there are ways around that, and once you understand the dynamics, there are people who will cook the books, who do the books, and you stay well with URA at the same time, be able to run your own businesses without any problems. Yes, coffee, Africa Coffee. I'm sure.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The conversation is getting heated. We are nearly getting to the top of the hour. Your comment.
Cool,
What has
yeah.
been your experience? Do we have the coffee in the cup?
I thank you, Mr. KAYIRA, for this innovative discussion.
Pleasure.
You grant me about 5 or so minutes because I can't straight away niche within the discussion is straight away. We established, I helped start this company to say that we have more African coffees come on the market in the United States.
You are in the United States.
All right, and the extra in it was really focusing on the Uganda Robustas, which are not a franchise here, given the fact that the United States market is grounded around Arabica collections. Again, they will forgive me for those who don't know the coffees, but because Uganda enormously relies on Robusta for its chunk of its production volumes, actually to tune with 12% versus 15% of Arabica. So I felt this was a good chance, and in the spirit of the diaspora sense, I thought this is what I had to do, also given that that's my background. But now to relate to the discussion here, over time, it has not been that so fast to convince farmers across the continent, even in Uganda alone, to buy in what our interest is, to be the go-between or facilitating agency with the markets here, and also recognizing the others in niching in the markets as well. But all the same, I've been grooming an extra sense of how we, the diaspora, can invest in coffee projects back home through something we are calling the Diaspora Coffee Acre. And when I heard you talk about the tree project, having a chivita somewhere for those who have redundant land, I was like, this is a synonymous thing to coffee. And just to fit in our conversation tonight.
My apologies, by the way, I didn't get your name.
Saleh Nakenda is my name.
Okay, that's fantastic. And for your information, I've already got 10 acres that is dedicated to the coffee. So probably we'll be having a conversation off the back of this.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Sheikh. That's wonderful, Sheikh. Yeah. So I was like, instead of us going back for the December parties, we venture in user things, the white parties and what. Has one ever thought of the need to think of a retreat at a farm, which can be in this case the Diaspora Coffee Acre? In this, I'm not only contemplating on an acre of coffee, but how can we integrate other value chains within the limited land? The 1 acre I'm talking about. Can we have a coffee banana system? Possibly we've been work around having the avocados. How do you make a mention of avocados? Jackfruit, mangoes, in a sense of coffee, banana, agroforestry kind of setting, where the several dollars and pounds and euros and the Saudi currency, we keep sending remit for people to feed on. How about if they concentrated on that farm in paying back for what the investment is for them, because they would be reaping matoke, if you have a fresh in there, some milk, if you have some poultry husbandry, then the vitamin or nutrition backup to the fruits. So this is the extensive idea which I feel best suits in the discussion tonight. In the best interest of time.
Saleh, what I was going to say to you is that I was in the United States. I went to Portland, Maine. I was in Minnesota and in Minneapolis, and I was as well in California. And what Rwandans have done with their Marava coffee is the way they've managed to brand, you know, that coffee, go and actually start marketing it. In fact, it is already being sold here in the United Kingdom in Sainsbury's, which is one of those expensive posh supermarkets. They've managed to do that. What have you been able to do with that Arabica, with our Robusta coffee then in terms of that? Have you managed to make any breakthrough through probably, you know, those franchises at all?
Thank you. I hadn't earlier on picked in the interest of branding or roasting and eventually a brand and have something on the shelf or open up a coffee shop.
Yeah, because
I didn't want.
That's what they have done. They've opened up specific.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, my interest wasn't to show greed or to kind of set in competition to chase away there would be clients for our coffees, because the ideal, the overarching interest of the Africa Coffee Bureau is to link farmers in Rwengo, in Bukomansimbi, in Bunjako, in Waivuga, in Budadi, the Kapchora, Zombo, Erusi, you know, Mahango, and Katsese, all over to markets here. At least to have some extra premium to kind of tend to shorten the middleman structure. At least if we have the Chagalanyis that they can continue, but we've also now entrenched into their market here. So this was the first phase. But now with the way things are appearing, I think to best utilize, we are now nursing the idea of starting a mini, or call it batch roastery, and maybe a small outlet, which can be one, but eventually groom into several or multiple.
Several franchises.
Oh,
fantastic.
Yeah. So that's the dream. But while I felt to cause a sustainability mechanism, because now I can't rely on farmers, but if we can have ourselves here, if I can venture into that coffee acre, I invest, and also intercrop with matoke, I'm sure I'm not anymore going to spend money to my people in Busoga. You know, let them now invest their labor, the family labor, for which I'm also proud to have implicated my grandmother's farm in her coffee, because I would go and help in the harvest. It's very normal. Let them, translate into the family labor for what I would have been, sending them to groom that, the project where they're gonna, get fortified of the matoke and the other value chains like I mentioned. And then we have that coffee back in the market here through the Africa Coffee Bureau. Either by that time we shall have opened up our roasteries and now, roasting and maybe having mobile kind of auction, having our trucks moving around, or again we sell it as a block. But now we shall have been assured of the supply of the commodity through the diaspora.
Okay, I'll just stop you there simply because I'd like to bring in more people, but this is a very fantastic opportunity. Now, members, listeners, viewers, you can see how opportunities now start coming in. I honestly didn't know about. I just saw the flag and I thought maybe there is something in there, and I'm sure you've heard. So anyone who has their land there, lying dead, lying idle, that 1 acre now could make the difference. We need to start now mobilizing and seeing the Salehs and seeing how we can put together such efforts and making sure that we can benefit from that. Definite. Thank you very, very much, Saleh, for that beautiful contribution. Bringing in more people just to sort of get a feel. I need some ladies. It's been, Farida Nassari. Farida, can you unmute yourself, please? Farida Nassari. Farida, can you unmute yourself, please? Okay, Farida is, there's a hand up, and that is from 75W. Yes, please go ahead. Is that Baker?
Yes, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it nice and short, but I think one of our problems is that we start projects back home and when they're not going, we're not, it's like, for example, if they don't turn out the way we want them to turn out, we keep pushing, you know, even when you see that it's not working out, you know, let's say, like KASSIM says that, for example, you want to do a farm or you want to start a farm or something, or any business, you start it, you invest a lot, but then you see it's not working out, you see it's not going the way you want it to go, but then you keep pushing. When you see literally it's not happening, but because you want to prove to everyone that it's working, because you want to show everyone that it's going to work, it has to work. For you yourself, you've invested so much money, but not knowing that you investing in more money, literally, you're literally just, I don't even know how to put it, but you're draining yourself, you know?
You are losing it.
I think
no, but Becca, there are certain businesses, especially anybody going into agriculture, I'll just tell you this. Anybody going to invest into the agriculture sector, if you're going into the agriculture sector and you're hoping by any miracle, that you are going to go into agriculture and within the first 2 years you have already made your profits, then you're a miracle maker. Some of these things take a bit of time, and therefore the patience that actually goes into that. One, you're getting a lot of learning experience. I'll tell you one thing. Anybody going to invest in Uganda, one of the biggest frustrations in investing in Uganda and several African countries actually is two very important things: the lack of serious labor, and then two, the lack of the poor time management. You go in with particular targets, with time frames, you know, things that you want to do over a specific period of time. You live here on a target, you've gone there, you've got your 2 weeks holiday, and you're trying to go and push in the 2 weeks quickly so that you come back. The biggest frustration you'll get is the people you are getting to employ to do the work are not seeing the same things the way you see them. As a result of that, the frustration then goes, you are 2 weeks. Actually, weeks. They play, you cannot adjust your time. You have booked leave, your leave is running out, you have to return, and then they play on the time. Before you know it, the next thing is you're boarding the plane and coming back with unfinished work, leaving it in the hands of people who do not share a vision with you. That's one of the biggest frustrations. Becca, go ahead. I'm sorry, I just thought I should just...
No, that was actually going to be my next point, because I was going to give myself as an example, because I started a charity that most of you know, First Aid Firsthand, and literally, first of all, it was a struggle, you know? It was a struggle just to get it going, because every office I went to, I had to pay them before they signed any document. You know, everywhere you go, you have to pay someone. They're in that office because they have to do them to literally do their job. You have to pay them fast. For them to actually do their job in time, you have to pay them even more. You know, so it's kind of like frustrating when you go back and then you see that you have to literally, even for the charity that I'm doing is to help people, but you find that people back there don't see that. You know, they say charities don't work in this country. You know, that's what most people told me. But you have to keep pushing. You end up with people that you're working with, when some of them actually, in a way you're employing them, you're providing them with money and everything, you're paying them, you know, but you can see when it's time for them to be paid, they'll work hard. As soon as you pay them, they're not going to put much effort. When you go to Uganda, they'll put more effort. When you come back here, they're not going to you have to push them. So sometimes when something is when something is not working, at times, maybe we need to accept that, nah, this is not going to work, and we quit. But like, I was even considering quitting, you know, pack up your bags and just try something else. But then if you feel the incidents that happened today in Uganda, then I'm looking at videos where people are just walking past casualties and they're not doing nothing. Then I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is really sad. You know, it's unbelievable. But then it's a struggle to see that you're pushing something, but then literally the people you're trying to help are literally from a different, I won't say from a different planet, but the mindset is totally different. So I think that the issue is just the mindset.
Thank you very much, Becca.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much, Becca.
Don't forget bridging up tomorrow, by the way.
Time is running up so fast. It's really, really scary. You try to fit in a few of the things. Well, a few lessons actually now to take, because as we go through these processes, you get hurt, you get beaten, then you learn. Hajat Sarah Semapur, I'll bring you in. Yeah, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the interesting topic. I just want to bring to your attention that I think it's very okay for people who are above 40 to really think about investing in Uganda, because we have a feel of Uganda. And for those of us who are born and who have lived in Uganda, we really have a good feel of Uganda and we think it's the best place to be. But my question is, are your children going to be happy to be in Uganda? Because most of your children have been, when you talk about Uganda, some of them tell them, oh, I'll take you to Uganda as a punishment. And I don't see them enjoying our mud and the security. Now seeing people like today we had some bombs blasting and people are just thrown on pickups and driven to hospitals, or some just left down, the cars are burning and there is no fire brigade. The kind of system they have grown into is so organized. And I don't think they have our dreams. They don't mind living in a council house because it's something they have grown into. But we lived in bigger houses and would love to be there. So my question is that will these children of yours really love to be in Uganda if you have had children here and you raised them up here? Because for us who left our children back in Uganda, who have brought them as mature or bigger people, it will be a very easy transition. They might want to go back to Uganda. But I don't know about your children. Thank you so
very
much.
much, Ajastar. Well, one of the things that we do actually, and as parents, I know it is expensive sometimes, and summertime is about the time to go there. I think it's about getting the children involved in what is happening. It's not an easy one, but and not all the children will pick interest, but you avail them the opportunities. Those who are really interested will pick up the interest, and then you can start building it up from there. My experience was a very interesting one, because with the farm and with this whole pet culture that they are used to here, you take the children to Africa and you give them, you're giving them each one a pet, a goat as their pet, and for them it's serious. The only problem I had is that I gave them animals, and for me, I was not thinking in the context of pets. I was giving them an investment, an animal. So when the time came and I sold off the goats, and came to say, this is your money from the other God, the kind of anger and response that I received was adequate to tell me, what the impression had been. For me, I was thinking, I'm preparing someone by availing them a goat or a rabbit, and I'm saying, this is yours. And yours, in terms of whatever comes out of it, will be coming to you. But when I come back to report that, alhamdulillah, we've had very good sales. In fact, and they gave them names. There was Greedy, there was whatever, they've given them the names, only to come and say, had given Greedy away. It became a very serious problem to try to explain back home. But the issue is involving our children in the sort of things that we are doing. When they become part of the process, they like that. Take them to visit even other people. Go to Imam Kasozi's pineapple project. Let them see endless eyes, looking at 10, 150 acres of pineapples. Let them go and see the coffee. With these, you're sort of creating an impact, because then they are trying to make a connection between what they see in the supermarket, which has been sliced down to the minimum level. In fact, there's a time I brought a dried mango home. I bought it at £2.35, and that was like the cheapest. £2.35. It's actually less than, it was 500 grams. 250 grams of dried mango. And this was just like a mango and a half from the mangoes that we have home. And I just showed that £2.35, translated the money into what the money is back home, and what we have and what we haven't done, like with the mangoes that we have back home. You drive on the whole way up north and you see how they gave us an entire bucket of mangoes, a whole bucket of mangoes for 2,000 shillings. And that was even negotiated because I was about to give them 1,000 and I felt ashamed. 2,000 for a full bucket of mangoes, which if had been solar dried and packaged, you see the difference it would make. So the mindset starts working, and children now are able to connect, make relationships between what they have done, what they have, what they have done, and you make comparisons. Message here, I've seen my grandchildren refuse to eat rabbit meat from the farm, saying, Omotua farm. Charles Chaze, I think you have something that has been burning. And we have that, and then we try to wrap up. I think I'll bring in other people who haven't had a chance to speak. Charles, do you have anything burning there? From the conversation that you have
Not
had?
really, but I've been very, very, encouraged that what we have is something very important. And I think our heads together, we can overcome some of the problems that we have identified. The last point about our children and our grandchildren who have grown up in this country, you emphasized how to relate them to the ground and understand how facts and how things work in Africa, leave alone in Uganda. And we went to Uganda the first time at 21. And for him, he had made up his mind that his life has to be in Uganda because he saw business opportunities, but he also realized the good about Uganda. And she has informed her mother that never bury me in Canada because, first of all, I've seen our cemetery, the family cemetery. I want to lie within my family, my forefathers and my foregrandfathers. So these are things we have as parents to encourage children and to be part of our investment in Uganda. That will take us a bit further than where we are today.
Fantastic.
Thank you,
Charles.
Sheikh.
Thank you very much. Abbe Sebiara, coming to you. And I was coming to Hajati Bukenya Namurabi Yeko Dao, near KAYIRA Mayanja. Having listened to these conversations, I would actually like to give these last few minutes to the young people now to hear, after having heard what we have heard, probably what their take is on what is, investing back home. KAYIRA Mayanja. KAYIRA, can you please unmute yourself? KAYIRA? KAYIRA? Okay, I'll come to Tasha, please. Tasha, can you unmute yourself? Are you able to speak? Hi, Tasha.
Sorry, I'm not Tasha. This is my, it's my daughter.
You're Tasha's dad.
I'm Tasha's dad. Yeah.
I was looking for a lady, but now since we already have you on, let's hear your own take. You've been listening to this conversation here. What do you make of it so far? Are you one of those that are investing back home, or are you one of the doubting Thomases?
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. This is a very insightful meeting. Just a few things to point out. One is that actually in terms of investment, I think there's a lot that Uganda can offer us in terms of real investment, and that is across all sectors, from construction, tourism, engineering, you name it. There's a lot. But what is probably lacking is just the environment, the connectivity between ourselves.
Sorry, Tasha's dad, where are you? Where are you speaking from?
I'm speaking from the UK, Southampton.
Ah, from Southampton. Okay, brilliant.
My name is Mark, by the way.
Oh, hi, Mark. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So there's that a little bit of lack of connectivity between ourselves and also the real investment opportunities back in the country. And I think that's where we need to put some kind of focus on how to oil that connectivity, the real supply chains between ourselves, and how to really make things happen in the real terms. That there's some form of disconnect there. The other thing I need to...
Can you explain just a little bit more on that, Mark? When you say supply chains?
Yes.
That's a very technical language.
I'm talking, for example, if you are in the UK and you want to start to do some investment, like maybe in say maybe tourism, you don't have the local knowledge in the marketplace. So how are you gonna connect your capital into the marketplace to make the business opportunities work for you? I think there's a need for to do a bit of understanding the marketplace and also knowing the linkages in terms of accessing that information. So the linkages could be in terms of maybe legal issues, it could be business advice issues, all that. You need people in that supply chain to link up. Now, quite often there's a disconnect. So you may have your capital, but if you cannot make that capital work for you in your terms, and then the business is bound to fail.
Now, Mark, you're actually pushing me. Probably next week we might actually have a part 2 of this conversation, because I'm thinking now it's time to invite Uganda Investment Authority as well as the Immigration Department as well, Ministry of Internal Affairs, to come and address some of these issues that seem to bother people who might have the potential to invest back home. I think we are going to be doing that. God willing, next week we will have part 2 and we'll have officials from the ministry. We'll try to get officials from the Investment Authority and as well as the Ministry of Internal Affairs, especially the Department of Immigration and Migration.
And just one little thing to comment on is that I think I heard one brother of ours saying that my understanding that if you want to invest in Uganda, you have to either to migrate and be in Uganda. I don't think that is it shouldn't be one size fits all.
Yeah.
You don't have to migrate, okay, from England or to be in Uganda in order to start a business or to invest. You can be in the UK, but also be able to invest in Uganda.
Right.
I have friends of mine, for example, they live in the UK, but do business in Iraq, in Kurdistan, in India, or wherever. So it doesn't have to be like you have to sell everything here.
And to be able to move.
Well,
some particular businesses might require that, but for you who is in Southampton, I think you can easily get onto the ship all the way to Mombasa, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I can do business and come back. Why not?
Thank you very much,
the
Mark.
linkages are correct.
Thank you very, very much, Mark.
Pleasure.
Sarah Male, I'm trying just to get 3 people and then we will wrap up. I will wrap this up. Sarah Male, I see you are a new entrant to this conversation as well. Your take on tonight's conversation. Sarah? Sarah Male? You can unmute yourself, please. I'll go to Hajat Aisha. Hajat Aisha, if you can unmute yourself, please. Hajat Aisha. Hey, there's sudden silence now. I wanted to marathon through this. Hajat Aisha, are you able to unmute, please? Let me go to Harriet while Hajat Aisha gets ready. Harriet's iPhone. Harriet, can you unmute yourself, please? I wanted to get some ladies in and it looks like there's absolute silence. Is Harriet up?
Hi.
Hello there. Hi, Harriet. Welcome to Come Talk. Let's Talk with me, KASSIM KAYIRA. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Where are you based? Where are you?
I am in Horsham.
You're in Horsham. Oh, that's in the United Kingdom.
Yes.
Listening to tonight's conversation, what's your take? Invest or not invest?
I would like to invest. Yeah, I would love to invest. Today is my first time on this program.
Oh, welcome. Let it only be the very first time, as you say, but not the last time, I'm sure.
So I was just listening. I didn't know what was going on.
Yes.
So it's about investing back home, isn't it?
Yes, it's about investing and probably the challenges that people have faced. Have you invested at all back home?
I have tried a little bit, but it hasn't worked so far because I think there's no trust. We don't trust the people back home and they don't trust us as well.
Right.
So it's quite a bit difficult.
So the one thing I've seen actually is someone gave me a very famous word that I still follow very religiously. He said, when you say, I'm going to try, you have already created room for failure. But when you say, I'm going to do it, means it will do whatever it takes to make sure you do it. But when you say, you allow room for failure. Could it be that probably your doubting has contributed to this?
Because I've tried already. I've tried several things.
Yes.
Back home.
What did you try? What did you try, if you don't mind?
I tried building properties to rent out. And what I've noticed, properties for us people who live abroad, they never get finished. You can build and build and build and send money and send, and the house doesn't get anywhere. For example, if your house is worth 20,000, you spend 50,000 on it. Yeah. So I have tried.
Did you try to probably go and supervise it while being there on the ground, or you are just sending money?
Yes, I don't have time to go supervising builders. And also,
but Harriet, with an investment that huge, sometimes that's why I was saying, I don't know if you heard me when I was saying, I made a deliberate decision that if I'm going to send any money that is above £500, I am happy to find another £500 to buy me a ticket to escort these £500, because that is already a lot of money. £1,000 will be 5 million. The amount of stuff that 5 million can do in your presence is unbelievable in comparison to when you're not around. So part of the reason might be, if you do not have the time, it's like you have allowed yourself now actually to be, your money to be siphoned. And that's probably, that's not where you want to go.
I really wanted to do that, but still it was getting too expensive because, for example, you can be building in the east when you are living in the west of the city.
Yes.
And obviously you're not going to drive back home. You have to find transport. You spend all day on public transport. And it's so, for me, it's difficult.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, no, it's understandable. All I'm saying, I mean, these are some of the lessons that we have to take away, that either you'll get a professional person who is going to be, who is going to do it for you, and you pay them for that. Because part of the complaint by the people from back home is an issue that they have raised increasingly. People abroad become so mean on money. You are sending someone to do a service for you. By going to do that service, they're actually sparing their own time. Well, probably they have a lot of time on their hands, but that is a lot of time that has been disrupted. You're asking the person to go and do something for you, in which case, in return, at least you should have shown an appreciation by availing money that would be commensurate to the time that they have spent. But we are very mean on the money. You want the person to go and deliver your stuff, but then your ability to support them, to give them the means to be able to deliver on that, becomes very mean. As a result, you get shoddy work because you've also given shoddy stuff. So it's actually, I think, a question of making the decision. How much do we want this project to succeed? How much are we willing to give away? But part of the secret now will be in going into groups. Probably that might actually start working. But of course, on a project like an individual project like that one that you have already embarked upon, you will have to change method to make sure you benefit from it. Thank you very much, Harriet. I hope, you're saying?
Yes.
All right, Harriet. Okay, Amber Amina, your hand is finally up. I was trying to unmute you, probably you're not in a safe place. And Sarah, I'll be coming to you after Amina, yes. Just a quick one so that we do not go overboard in terms of time. We're already on.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much, Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, and good evening.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay, thank you so much for the program and everything. Everybody who contributed, it was really mind-opening. It was so good. But the only one thing which I wanted to basically tell everybody that people who on Facebook there's a program called like Masuzemutia. We get so many business people teaching us from Uganda who are based in Uganda. So basically they are telling us about a business to do in Uganda, what's happening, how to do it. And there's a guy called, I think, Newton Buteraba. He's got a school of investment.
Yeah.
So basically that guy is always on internet teaching people basically how to invest and stuff, because truly, I don't have knowledge on business. I don't even know what business is, but truly, how can you invest when you don't know what business is? I feel like it's something which you need to understand before you start putting in your money. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much, Amina. Fantastic. And you've kept it sweet and short. Let's bring in Sarah. Sarah, your hand is up. Thank you very much, Amina. Sarah?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to add a little bit more on what you mentioned earlier about paying those who do the work for you.
Yes.
But also on another issue, another way that I have found it useful for me is the use of the technology. Like if you have a farm or you have a project that is going on, I found that investing in a smartphone is very critical, because instead of someone taking you pictures, you take them, you ask them to take you on a virtual tour. So you can be able to see how if you're having a farm, how all the plants are doing on the farm. If you're doing the building project, you can be able to see how the building is actually doing. So instead of sending pictures, I don't ask anyone to send me pictures. I ask them to take me on a virtual tour.
Fantastic. And Sarah, actually, to add to that, technology has even taken it one step further, that you can actually install CCTVs on the farm that are directly connected to your mobile phone. So you can actually see it in real time. So that's the other additional aspect. But of course, it means you're going to spend money on that, but you'd rather spend money and get results than remain in that kind of, worry about, uncertainty. That's one area. I've got a cousin who is in the United States of America. He's running a poultry project based in Bombo here, 20 miles from Kampala. And he's installed video cameras, CCTV cameras connected to his mobile phone in the United States of America. The fact that he's actually seeing stuff live actually is very amazing, and it's unbelievable. It's not about electricity. There's no question of whether power has gone off or not. These cameras are actually installed on solar panels, around solar panels, and that has made a huge, huge difference. You can actually go on. The other thing, of course, is the SARA aspect is go in real time, go into WhatsApp, or you can even set up a Zoom session and you prepare the workers. You can actually have them multiply, being able to communicate with them, and you just go ekitoke kirabika mubi balina okisalira wano temwataddeko manure mwongereko manure. It's just amazing, how much you can now do with technology, and you can invest, strongly in the farm workers. But also very importantly, especially for people with farms, quite often we go and we have our dreams. I have my dreams of how I'd like my farm to look, but then you've not trained the people that are on the farm. Try and invest in training for these people so that at least you can share that vision. Otherwise, you have the vision. Once you leave, your vision travels with you, and then people go back to their olden ways of how they do stuff. That can be actually very frustrating. So that is one other area that we should touch upon. I should actually be wrapping up. Sarah, I didn't know it. Did you keep it there? Did you have something that was unfinished, Sarah? Oh, I didn't.
Yes, I am still interested in, you mentioned that you'll be inviting UAI and immigration, and also I would really want to hear from URA because
yes. I think I saw your message in the chat room. We are going to add URA. URA are very easy actually to get on board, as well as the Uganda Investment Authority. The hard work will be with the immigration, but I think I can get that. I can get around that as well. We might be able to get that sorted. So inshallah, probably we have a whole week to plan this. That should allow us, because it's a bit late in Uganda. the program starts at 11 o'clock their time. But if they can be on programs like Frontline and so on, in case there is an issue like this important, I think it is good. And actually, I tried to get in the special advisor to the president on diaspora affairs, because that might at least help actually even probably highlight more on some of the stuff that we don't know. So we'll try to be able to do that, inshallah, next week. Right, I was trying to get Nassim, and that will be our last person tonight, unless if there is someone with a burning issue, please raise your hand. But I was trying to get Nassim. Are you available to unmute yourself? Nassim Naz, can you unmute yourself, please? Nassim? Okay, I'll go to Safina. Safina? Safina, then I'll get one man and we just wrap up. Safina? Safi? Okay, I'll go to Musa Chads. Oh, Fatuma's iPhone. Fatuma's iPhone, please unmute. Fatuma's iPhone. Oh, subhanallah, they've all gone quiet. Okay, I'll get Said Katende, and that should wrap us up then for tonight, inshallah. I was looking for a lady, and looks like all the ladies now have gone shy. Said Katende.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, well, good evening. You are all the way in the United States of America.
MashaAllah, Richmond, Virginia.
Yes, well, we've had the conversation. You've been on and off, I noticed. But issue is about investing back home, and I wanted to get your take.
I think having listened to all the people who are able to pitch in their views, I think it's high time we created trust amongst us and come up with probably entities that are handling our issues, because we know the challenges that we are facing as people in the diaspora. We should be in position with the expertise that we have and some of the professional organizations back home to be able to bridge that gap that has been standing forever. So that's my appeal, picking up from this show tonight. We should be able to organize ourselves like we've started doing the baby steps with some of the projects that we are working on already. And the project you just mentioned, is it in Impigi? That should be the beginning. That should be the beginning of so many good things that we can do together if we are organized and entrust amongst us that we can achieve and resolve all those challenges that we have faced for so many years.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm driving to catch up with some other appointments.
Thank you very much, Said, for your time. May God bless you. Just to add that actually this area in PG that we were talking about, there is about 310 acres, and we've only taken 40 acres, which we have allocated for our London village. Part of the other land is still available. People, I think, are buying there. It might be an opportunity for just to get facilities in place, because the idea is it's not just a question of building in one area. You want to build an organized estate. We have lived abroad. The fact that we have lived abroad means we are going back, and you would not want to go into the confusion that is already existing there. So you want a place that will have a shopping mall, you have your prayer place, you have football pitches, all inside that gated community. That allows you now to have a life that midnight you can still wake up and go to a shop, and it will be open because the security is within the confines of an estate. And that actually is really important, because then you start now creating environments, houses that are built on plan, like master plans, sort of relating to the entire area. And we can create a community that we can still feel comfortable. Children, especially, that we are worried about taking them back home. Someone was mentioning the idea of our children not being able to fit back there. If we can create an environment like that, have a farm where they can go spend the day, let them come back and be in this particular area. This is one thing that is actually a template project that I think could make a huge difference, especially for us diasporans as a starting point. Other countries like Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, they have already done that. We can start somewhere, and this probably might be the place to start from. I can only thank you very much for all spending your time, saving your time. It's late in some places, and in other places it's still very early. And in UK, actually, we are sort of there in the middle. So someone was saying, Sheikh KAYIRA, please write to us more information about this land. Please get in touch, and then probably we'll avail a little bit more information on that. All I can say is that it's a big chunk of land, very well planned. I mean, if I had planned it, I would have played the video, and you see 310 acres that have been cleared and prepared with roads inside. We've taken only 40 acres for the land and village so far. But if the numbers are big, then of course it means we can expand out and make sure that we take that. We are calling it land and village. It doesn't take away people in the United States or the Netherlands or wherever. We just call that just to give it a sort of, an identity of sorts. We could find even a Uganda name consequently. And it's a community that we are trying to build. I think it should be there. Just to tell you that tomorrow, Bridging the Gap, we'll be looking at why and how religious leaders have been able to influence people in terms of, deciding or determining, radicalizing them or otherwise. It will be looking generally at religious leaders, not only Muslim, Christians, whatever, but religious leaders. Thank you very, very much for a very, very beautiful program. Inshallah, next week, I'm going to pursue and see that we can bring Uganda Investment Authority, Uganda Revenue Authority, and somebody from immigration to deal with some of the very big questions that have been raised here. Thank you very much, and have a very good night to all of you. This is Come, Let's Talk with me, KAYIRA, and we're live on 75W Radio and live on Umma Connected on YouTube and Zoom. Did I hear a voice back there? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who has contributed to the conversation, and have a very good night. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. See you next week on Tuesday. Tomorrow, if you can, catch up with Bridging the Gap, looking at religious leaders and their influence on people in terms of either radicalization or otherwise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.